Hello, I have tried to do this video 4 times now, and one thing or another has stopped me. So I don't know if this will be online, but I do want to pull it. There's been this reoccurring theme of childishness or a little immaturity or being made to feel like a child, being mothered. And I, you know, we could get into the psychology of that. I think there are feeling like a child moments and actions that can be very positive and beneficial. Obviously, if you feel like a child in joy, it's wonderful no matter what age you are. If you're petty and spiteful and feeling smothered and jealous and bitter, I think those negative connotations of behaving like a child or immaturity in general, gosh, sometimes they can really, really get us. And it's okay. We all go through moments or periods of time where we feel especially vulnerable, and that comes through and we act out like a child. All that to say, I decided to pull this particular reading from the Kids Tarot. I thought it was appropriate, and I mean that in the best possible way, because if we're looking at our actions of immaturity, there might be an underlying unresolved childhood trauma or trauma with our inner child that is affecting the way that we behave externally. I mean that in the best way. But the Kids Tarot is a fun one, and this is kind of for teenagers. So the Three of Wands, I think, is where we're starting. Three of Wands is the bottom card. We are looking at the Six of Cups, Five of Cups, the Nine of Swords, the Three, or no, I'm sorry, not the Three, the Empress. I'm gonna have to get used to this deck. And the Eight of Pentacles. This is an unusual deck, and I am, I'm a little uncomfortable with it. I definitely need to break it in if I'm going to use it. Again, I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I'm seeing abandonment and neglect. If we're talking about inner child work, and if we're talking about childhood trauma or childhood experience that manifests its way into adult behavior and action, I am seeing neglect and abandonment. So that can come from many, many different things, right? How we all process things is unique to our experience and to our souls. So I kind of want to make it very clear that, for example, my dad was gone a lot for work. He wasn't a traveling salesman, but he was a traveling carpenter, if that makes any sense. Back in the day, good carpenters were hard to find. So he would go build cabinets for someone 3 states away. He would help build a log house for someone on the coast while we were living in the Midwest. So my dad would be gone a lot, just naturally for work, but then he would be gone overnights as well, doing his work. At the time was carpentry. how I process that neglect from him and those feelings of abandonment that came is different than how someone else might have processed it if it was their dad. A little slight or a little neglect. If you're a kid of the 90s, you definitely understand being a latchkey kid, and I'm sure a lot of you were either left in your rooms or left in the car alone when you were either sick or dealing with something because your parents had stuff to do and they weren't gonna baby you. And I think it depends on the cultural narrative that your family has. I think it depends on your personal experience, the generation that you were born into, but we all handle neglect and abandonment differently. However we have experienced it to begin with, any level of it is incredibly important to heal and address. I think the reason that I wanted to pull this particular reading was because now is the time, in terms of whoever is watching this, where you are in your life, where we are in the world right now, the age of Aquarius and all that. I think it's important to address it now. So if you have these feelings and you've recognized them, you are already 2 steps, 3 steps ahead. A lot of times we don't recognize these feelings. We just have a string of ruined romantic relationships, or we don't know how to connect with people, especially of the opposite sex, or we're not comfortable feeling vulnerable with someone, or when someone is pushing us away, we feel like we need to get closer. Okay, all of those feelings can come from, not always, but all those feelings can come from these neglects and these wounds of abandonment. If you recognize it, I think we've all been abandoned or neglected as children in some way at some time. It's impossible to get through childhood completely unscathed. There is so much garbage around this. I had to stop the video and I had to try again and again and again because then I had something else happen in the house. Obviously the dog's barking was the first thing, but man, I don't think I've ever had this much interference or this much difficulty pulling a reading, and that's why I say I don't know that I'll put it online. If I put it online, something is about to show me something really cool. The universe is about to show me something really cool, which makes it worth it, and hopefully you can take it away. But this is pretty dark stuff. But it's showing up. Okay, so there's a betrayal, right? There's a betrayal where the expectations that you had that someone would be there were not fulfilled. You felt betrayed by someone either walking away or someone not being there in the capacity that you needed them to be at the time. Okay? Pretty simple stuff. It happened to all of us. The trauma of it, though, is extremely impactful when you're a kid, and it can be on varying levels, manifesting itself in adulthood. In this case, if we just continue with this story that's in the cards itself, someone very close to you who you depended on, who has been there since the beginning, as far as you know, betrayed you, left you out in the cold, either through abandonment or neglect. And that has been torturing you ever since, to the point where you isolate yourself and have built success for yourself from yourself to the point where you climb up into your treehouse you show your wealth to the public, but inside you're dark and no one gets in there. It's hard to be vulnerable. But what I want to do is pull on the Empress. This reading is making me uncomfortable. I don't like it, but I think that's just, I think you don't like it either, obviously. This is not a cool place to live and hang out and build and understand the world. This is not a cool perspective to have forever. It hurts. It hurts a lot. You know, if you're dealing with this, my empathy and compassion is with you, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot to not overcompensate and rely on yourself for every goddamn thing, right? To recognize the neglect, being left out in the cold, to recognize the betrayal and the abandonment, and still put your faith and trust in other people. That's what we're aiming for. That's healing. Until we heal, we won't be able to let people fully in. So I think, you know, the real pain of it when you're an adult is that you let it cloud your future and you don't become your highest and best self because of this hurt that you don't even know if you can heal it. You refuse to take off the Band-Aid. Okay. Empress. So we have the Four of Swords. There's fear. But we have the World. We have the Two of Swords. This is a really dark deck, right? And the Eight of Wands and the Fool. This is the Del Toro deck, which is used very sparingly in my world. So the Empress, I was having trouble with the Empress because I couldn't tell whether it was you or whether it was another person, whether it was external or internal, and now I know that it is internal. So this is your own internal Empress. Her placement confuses me a little bit, but the Empress in its mothering capacity isn't mothering, it is nurturing. So in the nurturing capacity of this particular Empress, especially in this deck, this represents your internal fight to raise that inner child and protect that inner child from getting hurt again. Okay, so it goes both ways. So one way, we protect the child from getting hurt again, which usually means we stop other people from coming in, right? So that's why we run from good relationships that will force us to be vulnerable and be truthful. That's why we put up guards and we don't let people around us know who we really are. So that's protecting that inner child. But we have also the alternative action of healing the inner child. There's a lot of great therapy modalities about this, by the way. Internal family systems is a great way to address this inner child work. And I would highly recommend you Google internal family systems and find a therapist who deals specifically with this type of challenge, this type of nurturing that you need to do. That being said, there is so much potential deep within. This particular deck shows potential, so these caterpillars and this whatever larvae or whatever grow into a butterfly. So there's a potential. This world card is the seed of everything that a world card becomes to me. We have the Two of Wands. There's that deciding whether you're going to address this or let it continue to challenge your healing and your growth in this world. I'm sorry, it's not. It's the Eight of Wands. So it's movement, it's communication, and it's a communication you need to have with yourself and start over. So you need to do something different now. Whatever you've been trying to do isn't working, and I think that's why I recommended the internal family systems, because whatever you've been doing so far isn't working. And find something new to help you address these feelings, because the cycles, the relationship cycles, the hurt cycle, it's going to continue until you figure this out. That's just where we are in the world, and we can blame other people for it, or we can take responsibility and we can move forward in our own growth, on our own path, making our own choices. It's harder sometimes than it is other times, and I think now is the easiest time for you to do this. Okay, that came up pretty quick. Okay, all right, so the Star. I'm kind of pulling on the Nine of Swords and the Five of Cups a little bit, and I'm really anxious. Now I'm not so bummed out, but I'm really anxious. Okay, so the Star is fueling it underneath. There's a Vision and the Empress. Oh, okay. Does that come upside down? No, maybe these did. I don't usually have any upside down cards, and I don't in the deck. And I don't really read them upside down either. So focus on the vision that you see for yourself and the big picture. The big picture and the love that you have to give. So I think there's, I also pull on this feeling of all this love that you have to give. I every single reading practically about how you don't feel like you're expressing love in the ways that you need to, but you feel it's like an emotional constipation, like love constipation, like you need a laxative for your emotional stuff to flow. You really do. It is like, even this is so static. The Ace of Cups in other decks will have movement of water. There will be movement in and out of the cup, but this I see static. The cup looks hairy to me right now. And then we have the Six of Wands. There's a potential for a really wonderful outcome once these wounds have been healed. I think you'll be very surprised. I think you know close to the level, but it's beyond even that. It's beyond even what you could possibly dream of as the best case scenario after healing these wounds. It's even better. You'll achieve a level of love and sharing love with multiple people, whether it's your family or whether it's romantic relationships, whether it's brothers, sisters, wives, girlfriends. You'll be able to achieve a level of compassion and love and understanding and speak with them in ways you can't you don't even have a vocabulary for. You have to heal this to learn the new language of love that exists inside of you, which is so great. And I think I was just anxious to get it out because I think you're anxious to heal this. I really do. I feel like your inner child, this little kid inside of you, is very anxious. And now I'm feeling like emotional. This kid inside of you is very anxious to heal. Yeah? Very anxious to come down out of that tree house and have a conversation with you as an adult. If this resonates with you and you choose to do nothing, don't do that. Just don't do that. If this resonates with you, please do something about it. The more you know. If this resonates with you, take it and talk to somebody. Read some books. There's some great books. Richard Schwartz wrote a great book on IFS. Do something, because once you know this, if you've seen this, if you feel this way, there's a whole nother language of love you can understand, and that can really help your soul through the journey of this life. Your soul needs that language of love to express itself. Otherwise, if you repress it, you're going to stay in your head too much. So do yourself a favor and figure some stuff out. Read some books. Talk to a professional. Talk to someone else who you have a good instinct in. But yeah, there's so much potential here, and your inner child is ready. Oh my God, they're ready. They are anxiously waiting for you to meet them, up here and walk down that ladder. Okay, well, I hope that helps somebody, because I'm going to need to have a good cry and a cup of tea. So remember, tarot is for entertainment, but if you were helped in any way by this or any of my other readings, then I am so grateful.